All right, everybody, welcome back. We're going to continue working on this Lord of the Rings Return of the King logo. And we got the initial kind of setup done in the last video, just getting the letters in place. And now it's time to go ahead and create outlines. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm just going to duplicate this. And this is just kind of my, you know, the way I'm going to do it by this. I'm going to duplicate the layer. The way I just safeguard myself if I have a mistake or something, I need to redo something. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate layer 2. It'll be a copy, and that's fine that it says copy. That helps remind me it's a copy. So I'm going to go ahead and lock that one and just turn it off. I'm going to put it below layer 1, just kind of out of the way. And just leave it there, right? It's just the same exact thing on a different layer. And I'm going to keep working on layer 2. So I do that especially if I'm going to do something like this, like take my type and then create outlines, because I'm doing a destructive change, right? And destructive by that you can't just undo it so easily. And I'm looking and I realize what I did. I left some things locked. The ing is locked and the r is locked. So I'm going to have to go grab those. I saw it not select them. So if you locked any of your text like I did, you'll have to go back and create outlines again with just that text selected. Okay, so let me just check it all out. Get my white arrow. Yeah, everything looks like paths now. All right, we look good to go. Okay, first things first. This L is bugging me, right? I got to get it to get aligned with the up there. So let's go ahead and drop another guide down. Let's see if I can get it in the correct spot. I think I didn't. I think I missed. Yeah, I missed. So zoom in. One more time. Let's see. It keeps snapping right there. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, now I need to get this L, and I just want to select the. I'm going to extend it, right? I'm gonna stretch it up. So I want to make sure I grab the right pixels here, or the right, not pixels, the right anchor points. There we go. And I want to grab it probably right, all these up here. So I want to make sure I don't grab this O, because that's just not what I need right now. So let's turn that O off. Here's my layer 2. And let's find my O. There you are. I'm going to lock the O. Grab these pixels from the L. I keep saying pixels. And anchors. And hold shift as I drag them up. Bring it like that. How's that feeling? Okay. I like it. I like it. Okay, and again, I'm going for the bigger changes first. So I'm looking at the letters here. Everything looks okay. R, D, R. The I. They shortened the I and gave the N an extra serif. So let's go ahead and shorten the I first, just to get it kind of out of the way so I can kind of add the serif above it. So I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to unlock my ORD as I'm thinking about it. I'm going to go ahead and grab the I here. And again, I'm going to kind of grab it around the same spot. So I get these anchor points right there. Make sure you get them all. You'll usually know if you don't get them all. I'm going to go ahead and start bringing it down. I'm going to hold down shift. Let's see. Let me see if it's aligned with anything. Is it aligned with the of? Because that would be cool. Oh, it is. Well, it's close. Maybe not quite. But that's how I think when I design logos and stuff. I try to line things up with other things if possible. It'll help it from feeling disconnected from the rest of the design. So alignment is a great way to keep things looking like they belong together. So I'm going to align it with the of, because that makes sense in my mind. So I'm going to bring it back up a bit. Oh, let me grab it again. Again, I'm grabbing it with a white arrow. I'm not sure if I said that before. Just because I want to grab part of it, right? I want to grab the anchor point parts, not the whole thing. Okay, cool. The N has that little extra serif up there, and the G is missing a part. Missing its little serif out there. Okay, no big thing. So let's go ahead and add a serif up there. So I just got to find one I like, and I think it looks kind of like a thicker one up here. And this looks a little skinny for me. So I want to kind of add, well, maybe they're the same. No, that N one looks thin. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this D over here, and I'm just going to duplicate it by holding down Option with a, well, I'll use the white arrow this time. And what I want to do here is steal its serif. So pretty simple. I'm just going to get the eraser tool and erase everything but the serif. Okay, and I can erase more if I need to, but let's go ahead and take this and bring it down and see. Okay, it's getting close. I might need to erase a little more. But let's get it in place anyways. Okay, and I'm going to bring the N gets higher here, as you can see, but I'm going to get rid of that. So I've got the serif selected. Nope, I got more selected now. Let me just get my serif selected. There we go. So clicking on the black, I can get the whole thing selected. Now I'm going to go to my eraser tool and kind of erase this little part sticking out here. Okay. And now I want to go to my N and erase that other part on top sticking out. Just going to zoom in and see how this is looking here. Okay, not too bad. I got a little funkiness going on there, but you know what? I'm going to join them together and then maybe I can fix it. So I'm going to hold down those two. By holding Shift, I'm going to select both those and then use my Pathfinder tool, join them together, and now I can get way in there and see what's going on with these points. So I have an extra anchor point there. Let's minus that. And I think the rest looks okay for now. Okay, let's take a look. All right, I like it. Let's get that G. And we want to get rid of this serif. Let's look at how it goes. I think it goes out a little bit, if I remember correctly. Just kind of gets out. It gets a little wider, and then it gets smaller. So I've got it there. Let's get that eraser again. I'm going to let it go out a little bit, and then just kind of round it out here. And notice how it erases. It looks like it's erasing the S, but because I have the G selected, it's only going to erase the G. So I know it looks like it's getting all of it, but that's just a little weird oddity, in my opinion. Okay, let's take a look here. I'm looking for any adjustments that now need to be made, and I think the N looks a little far. I think I would want to bring it in a little bit. And it's not touching here, but it is gonna touch on my design. And that's just what I'm gonna do. Don't want to grab the I. So I'm gonna get the N, selecting the black, hold Shift, select the black of the G, the S. Try and get all of it. Make sure all those anchor points are selected. Okay, and then I think that did kind of mess with the spacing here. This looks a little further now. I'm sorry, this looks closer, and this looks a little further. So I'm just going to scooch it over rather than redoing all these letters here. I just want to scooch it over a little. Make it a little more centered. Okay, we are in business. The next step is to kind of add these little details and all that. So now this is again going to be destructive. So with my way I do things, I would make a copy. So I would duplicate this layer again. This will be layer 2 copy now. Wait, this is a second layer 2 copy. So let's call this something else. Let's call this, oh, outlined. We'll just call it outlined for now. Okay, and we're going to lock it and put it below. And we'll keep working on layer 2. And I'm going to turn it off. Okay. Again, the reason I'm doing these copies, and I'm just trying to show you how I work, is in case I make a mistake, I have one I can easily go back to and replace it. I don't have to go back, type in the word, make outlines again. I've already got it kind of set up where I can just replace it if I need to. And we're at our final steps here. We're going to rough it up and give it this kind of beveled effect and make it look like beaten metal a bit. And we'll see how close we can get to what they've got. And we're going to do this in Photoshop. So Photoshop does a better job at images and gradients and that sort of thing. And this style, a little more illustrated or painted style, I guess, and handles that better than Illustrator does. So let's get to it. We're going to have to do a few things here to get it set up to make our lives easier in Photoshop. We've got one layer here with the picture, and let's just go ahead and call that the logo. We'll call it logo. Okay, I'm going to rename things just so when they go over to Photoshop, we can see how it organizes everything. Okay, and we've got our layer 2 here. Okay, our layer 2, and it's got all these things broken up into different groups here. I think I want to combine some of these so that it's a little easier. So let's see what we can do here. Let's take a look. I think you can make rings all one group. So I'm just going to drag that in. So I dragged the R in there. Okay, so now I should have rings all together. Oh, the S. Let's find the S. Just drag you in there. And you know what? I think I want Lord to be the same. And the reason why I'm grouping it this way is because of size. And if the size and some of the effects I do affect the way it works, I want the sizes separate. So let's drop the L in there as well. And we'll look for the ORD. Let's see, is that ORD? Nope, that's of. There it is. ORD's way on the bottom. Pick it up and I'm going to drag it in here. And now I should have a group with all my larger text. I'm just going to turn that off for a second. The, of, and the, I think are close enough in scale where I could put them all together. If not, I could separate them later, but I think that'll do me all right. So I'm going to take this group right here, bring it in there. Let's just pull them out so they're not their own separate thing. Okay, there it is. Of, and then here's my the. Let's bring this in here as well. Okay, let's see what I have here. I have that group. And I'm going to break all these up here. I don't think it'll actually affect it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it won't actually. But just to put them on the same level, I'll pull them out of their little group. Okay, now that there's no little arrow, they're all in the same group. Same with that. And this text at the bottom I'll leave all together since it's the smallest. Okay, now it's going to put these all in one layer in one folder, and we'll call this, let's call this our logo. I don't know. Maybe I'll rename this as logo pic. That's a picture. That came out weird. Logo pic. Okay, so yeah. Now the reason why we're doing this is because I think we'd have to go through quite a bit more trouble to do some of these details in Illustrator. I think it's just easier to do in Photoshop with drawing with a paintbrush and whatnot and the eraser tool. Okay, so almost ready to move this over. Now the thing I want to do is I want to make this larger. Okay, it's a bit small, and it's going to matter when we bring it over into Photoshop. Photoshop is a it's all rasterized. It's all bitmap images. It's all it's not the same as the vector file in Adobe Illustrator. So before I convert it, I'm going to select all this text, and I'm going to size it up by holding Shift. And if I was going to make this for a movie poster, I would probably size it up even further. I would, I would make this a very big image. But we're not doing that. We're just doing this for practice. But I do want to size it up. Now, do I want to size the picture up? Not necessarily. I think I'm just going to kind of move it down. And I can move it in Photoshop too, just to kind of have as a reference to look at. So I'll leave it there. Okay, and let's see how this transfers over. So now I like to save when I do any work. I like to save it. So I'm going to save this as logo 4 in Illustrator. So this is my Illustrator file still. And now I want to go to File, Export, and I'm going to export it as a Photoshop file. So it was already on there because I've done this before. So if it starts usually on default on PNG on the top, but you're going to want to find PSD, Photoshop PSD, and it's going to have the same name, whatever you named it. Then hit Export. And okay, it's going to give you some options here. Now, normally I like to work in RGB because you get the blacks are deeper, but for this, I want to be able to have layers, and I can't have layers that way. It'll be a flat image. So I'm going to keep it in CMYK. I'm going to keep the resolution high. That's another thing we could mess with if we want to make our image larger. We could change the resolution. I'm going to right layers. I'm going to go maximum editability if that's not checked. And let's see, type optimized, anti-alias, and let's do none. Let's do none. Let's see what happens here. And CMYK. Okay, that all looks all right. Let's see what happens. And we're still in Adobe Illustrator, so nothing happens here, right? But I'm going to leave this open and just minimize it. And then this is a folder everything's saved into. And now I've got my logo. There it is. My Photoshop file right here. Okay, so let's open it in Photoshop and see what it looks like. If you don't have Photoshop installed, you can go to your Creative Cloud and you can go down to Photoshop down here and install it. And I'm going to go ahead and open it. You can probably double click on this and just open it up that way. Or you can open up Photoshop and then find it. Either way would work. Okay, and it looks a lot like Illustrator once we open it up. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit open. Go to logo 4 and check it out. Okay, so let's see the percent it's at. 66%. Okay, that's 100. I'm looking closely at it, and I'm just kind of giving a look around. Okay, and I can see here it didn't do any anti-aliasing, and anti-aliasing would give it kind of a fuzzy edge. Now that may affect the way our beveled effect looks in the end, but it's not quite as big as I would like. But I think it'll do for this project, for this exercise. Okay, and this is something you just got to check out and see, and see if you like the size or don't like the size. But let's go ahead. I'm going to go back to Illustrator, and I just want to show you the difference with anti-aliasing. So let's go ahead and go File, go to Export As, and I'm going to rename it. I'm going to do 4B, okay, and Export, and then let's go ahead and see. Okay, CMYK, high, right layers, anti-aliasing. Okay, so let's try art optimized, super sampling. Let's see what happens here. Hit OK. There it goes. Let's go back, and I'm just gonna, well, we can just go here, File, Open, 4B. Okay, and it wants to know what I want to do with it. Do I want to flatten everything to single image, to objects? Let's see. Okay, and let's see what it did now. I've got my 4B PSD, and I'm going to go ahead and close that. 4B, let's close this, and let's see. Okay, so it wants to know if I want to save the changes to the document. 4B PSD, yes. I'll save it. 4B. This wants to save my Illustrator file. That's fine. I don't mind resaving my Illustrator file. Okay. So there we go. Let's close that one as well. Okay, back in Photoshop. Let's take a look. I'm going to open it up here. Here's 4B PSD, the Photoshop one. Okay, and I know it looks the same from far away, but let's go take a look closer up. And if you can see here, the line is softer, okay, and that's the anti-aliasing. Kind of smooths the line out. And if I compare it with the first one, where there was no anti-aliasing, and it keeps it kind of all pixelated. Okay, so now we'd have to decide what we want to work with. I think I want to work with, let's just work with the sharp pixelated one. And it'll be a little easier to control our pixels, possibly. Yeah, let's see. This one, we'd use a paint. So one, we'd use a pencil tool for this one with the pixels. This one, I would use a paintbrush and get a little soft edge. So let's try, you know what? Here's what I would actually do. I'd actually compare the two and see what happens. So yeah, let's go ahead and do this one first. And we'll see how it looks. And then we'll check this one out and see how this one looks with the anti-aliasing. So let's find out. Okay, so here's a thing I want to do first. So we want to look at our layers and see what's going on. So Window, Layers, and layers are a bit different. Okay, so again, this program is very similar to Illustrator in terms of layout and the way they do things. If you haven't used Photoshop, sorry if I go a little too fast. Try to stick, you can always rewind and look back. But Window, Layers, just like you would in Illustrator. And layers are also a bit different. Everything is a potential layer, or is a layer really. It's different than the way Illustrator organizes things. Now it put it in a group in order to put it like in the same layer that we had. So it's got our different groups of letters there. And then it's got the logo pick on a different layer. Okay, that's fine. Photoshop also has these little boxes here, the checkerboard, to show us transparency, to show us that there's nothing there. We'll deal with that in a second. But first thing I want to do after I looked at my layers is I want to change my image size. So I'm going to go to image size, canvas size. There we go. I want to change the canvas. It's not like the artboard. We have to actually just type it in. And the width is 10. I'm going to go ahead and make it 12. And the height is really not an issue. But I'll just go ahead and make it an even 5. And let's see what happens. Okay, there it all is. If I want to move things around, I can pick it up with the move tool. So it's not like the arrow in Illustrator. Well, it's a lot like the arrow actually. The icon looks different, but it does very similar things. And the V is also the shortcut for it. So I'm going to pick it up and move it. And because it's all tied together, it's going to move them all together. And I also want to move the picture up out of the way a little bit there. And that's fine. We can work with this. And I want to do the same thing to my other image. Let's do that real quickly here. So I'm going to zoom out, Command minus, Command minus. And I'm going to go to Image, Canvas Size. And let's go to 12 for the width. And I'm going to make it an even 5 for the height. Okay, same thing. I'm going to take my picture, move it up. And I'll take the logo, move it up a little bit, just so it's away from the edge. Okay. Next thing I want to deal with is this checkerboard. So I'm going to make a new layer. And it's called Layer 1. I'm going to call it BG, just so I know what things are here. BG. I'm going to hit OK. And it's on the top. So order matters just like it does in Illustrator. And what's on top will be on top. I want to move it down to the bottom. And for now, I'm going to dump white in there. We might change this to black later, but it's going to be easy to change that. It's not a big deal. So what I need to do, it's not like Illustrator where I'm going to make a rectangle and put it behind. I'm going to go to the paint bucket tool. And if yours is in the gradient tool, it might look like this. But just like in Illustrator, I'm going to switch it to the paint bucket tool. And then I'm going to dump in my color. And it's going to dump the top palette, whatever the top is. Different than Illustrator. This is not the stroke and the fill color. It's just a color, and it has two potentially loaded, so I can switch back and forth between two colors. So it looks similar, but it's different. The top one is all that I'm really working with. So I'm going to switch it to white, and I'm going to dump that in there on the background layer, and that's good. Okay. Next, I'm going to lock it. See this lock button right here? It's not next to the eyeball like it is in Illustrator. I'm going to lock it right there. And then I've got my logo pick right there. I'm going to lock that as well. Okay, so now I can't move it or anything. And if I need to, I can unlock it. That's all you have to do is unlock it. But I'm going to lock it so I don't accidentally draw on it or do anything strange. Let's go ahead and do the same thing to the logo 4. I'm going to go ahead and hit New Layer by going to this little drop down right there. New Layer. I'm going to call it BG. I'm going to hit OK. This one popped in between there, but I'm going to move it down one so it's on the very, very bottom. I'm going to go to my paint bucket tool, which is already on, dump in white, and lock it. Okay, then once again, I'm going to go to my picture. I'm going to lock that as well. All right, and now I'm good to go, ready to start messing with this. So let's go ahead and start first with the pixelated one and see what our effects look like. So the way we're going to do this on the pixelated one is we're going to use the pencil tool. So if I go down here and I see a little paintbrush, or B takes us there, I can go here, and if it's on the brush, I'm going to move it down to the pencil. And what the pencil does is it draws in pixels. So it draws and it fills in little boxes. So I want to go up to the right layer. So right here I'm on the logo pick. That's why it's showing me this little deny sign. Be denied. I want to go up to our logo. Okay. And I'm going to first mess with the larger letters. So I'll just start here. And make sure I'm on black. See, I'm on white. So whatever color I'm on is what it will draw. Like that. See, it's white. And I want to draw black. Okay, so I'm on black. And I'm going to zoom in. And I'm just going to do something similar. I won't do exact. I'm not going for like an exact replica. If I want to do that, I'd be tracing this. But if I'm on the pencil tool, you can see here that it's drawing in squares. Okay, so there's my little metal thing hanging out there. And I'm going to rough up the edges a little bit. And I also want to erase a bit too, but I'll do that in a second. We're just going to rough up the edges. A little too much. And I'm hitting Command Z to go back a step. I also have my history open too. You may or may not have this open, but I could also click back. Let me zoom out a second. I could click back multiple steps here and start wherever I want. Little different than Illustrator. It does not have a history window. It has infinite history in Illustrator. Photoshop, it's not infinite. It is it's set up in your settings. But we won't bother looking at that right now. Okay, let's see. This comes out a little there. This comes out a bit there. Okay, and again, not going for exact, just going for the approximate look. And now I'm going to go to the eraser tool. So E will take us to the eraser tool, or this little icon right there. Make sure it's the top one, the eraser tool. With the eraser, I have to make sure it is on the pencil tool and not a brush. So if I go over here and it says mode, I want to switch it there. Block does something different. It just does it in squares, but I definitely want the pencil tool. Okay, and with that, I can go in and kind of erase it a bit, like so. And undo, Command Z if I didn't like what I did there. Just kind of work it in a little bit. Too much there. Okay, pretty good. All right, let's just do the L, and let's go ahead and I'm going to save that. File save. I'm going to go to my anti-alias one and do the same thing, but now I'm going to do it with a brush. So I'm going to go to my brush, And oh, by the way, didn't say it. I should have said this. Um, you adjust it the same way you do in Illustrator when we have something. We can make it smaller or bigger with the brackets. Okay, and the brush is the same over there. So I'm going to go to my larger letters here, and I can make my brush larger with the brackets. I want to make sure I'm on black. Actually, I'm going to select the same color here. It may not be exact black. It is not exact black. So I'm going to make sure it's the same color there. Okay, so Option, while I'm on my brush. And let's check out what brush I have. Hard round should be fine. Let's try the hard round. Okay, first thing I'm going to draw is this little thing here. And see the brush, if I zoom in, is going to give me that like soft edge to match what's going on with the letters that have been anti-aliased. Okay, just going to go do another quick little pass at this, rough it up a bit, and then we'll see how the effect works on both of these. Okay. All right, I'm going to go to the eraser now, and I also want to change this from pencil to brush. And let's check out what brush. I have the hard round. That's fine. I want it to match, so that's good. And now I can go in and kind of hit the edge here, rough it up a little. Look for any major kind of indents. And yeah, there we go. Okay. There is a non-anti-aliased version, and here's my anti-alias version. Okay, let's go ahead and stop right there, and we'll apply our effect on the next video and see how the text is going to turn out.